Hey everybody, we're live. It is Baddummy and Watermess, the British Clash, the tea drinker supremacy battle in round 2 winners bracket, to the surprise of some. Not really intended as a shot there, just our play-in players, Baddummy and Sadly Seus, kicking butt, have not lost a match between them just yet, so play-in's OP. But yeah, this is, like I said, being an upper bracket match, neither one can be eliminated here. What can happen with a win is you get a bye, which is so important and so good. Winning the first 2 rounds is such an advantage with the way that this tournament is structured. So obviously, these guys are going to try hard to make that happen. Baddummy, Rick Pickle, I'm Rick Astley, whatever you know the man as, he's on the bottom, and Watermess is on the top with an Armaldo. And this is not the first Armaldo appearance in this tournament. People going over to the Bug. I was going to call him the Stall Bug, but like, he doesn't have to be. He could be Swords Dance 3 attacks. He hits pretty hard, actually. And Bug Rock is a pretty decent attacking type in this metagame. A lot of good things are weak to those. BP with that Combine boost. Swampert gonna be the recipient, and he's gonna be knocked off. I mean, no lefty is fine and well, but you got to deal with the firepower here of the Swampert. Might have a +1 Surf or +1 Ice Beam or what have you. Don't want to let that guy get out of hand even for a moment. It's actually just going to be Focus Punch though. Fair enough. And now Skarm comes in. Good thing he's got that Combine boost that he's not using whatsoever. There we go. Switches it up to Hydro Pump now, but where the hell was that before? Use some damn special attacks, my man. Hydro Pump connects once, gets protected against the second time. In comes Mence. That'll obviously not like an Ice Beam if it eats one. It takes about a third from the boosted Hydro Pump. And back to Starmie as Mess tries to dance around this. In theory, if it's a bulky Starmie, which we've seen nothing, but like a bold Starmie with T-Wave Recover and defense investment, should be able to hold it off here reasonably well, especially because Swampert does not have lefties and Starmie can eventually, slowly, win this one-on-one. And wow, Baddummy, not patient with it at all. He's not even going to try to play that game or go for Earthquake or whatever. He's just going to get out of the way now, perhaps preserving the Swampert as a physical wall, though it is much worse at that than it needs to be or than it could be because of the knockoff. So full stall from Mess, who's been switching up his teams reasonably well. We saw him last round when he 2-0 upset ABR with one very aggressive team and one very stally team. This one, very stally again. And I like that. I dig that we are going very polarized and very opposite. I think that's going to make him difficult to prep against and matchup fish against. EQ obviously breaks the sub. Crit there didn't matter. Ice Punch damages whatever, but fishing for 20% freeze, which obviously always matters. And knockoff is, of course, just going to hit something that's already been knocked off. Baddummy with the boost didn't feel like he could get through the Starmie, so I don't have any reason to believe that he feels like he could get through it now. And the Starmie is at 100%, so I'm kind of surprised that that's not what comes in here. But I guess he knew Earthquake was coming, so he's going to intimidate him first, and now almost certainly switch to Starmie. No, he's going to go to Blissey. Interesting. And that turns out, I guess, to be the right play, so Mess pretty on top of it, playing chess while Baddummy and I are playing checkers. The Zapdos there was anticipating Starmie, but Watermess took it a step further and got the Blissey in to counter the counter. What a pro. So there is the S-Toss. T-Tower, we find out, has lefties. Know what else he's got? Toxic. Mess is not going to like that unless he's got Refresh on his Swampert or unless he's got Aroma/Bell, which is the same thing, from Bliss. Here comes Celebi, and it is Refresh, so that is immediately indicative of a Monopert. Last 2 moves are probably Protect Roar or Protect Toxic. Those are the 2 most common things on Monopert. CM comes down. Zapdos was the recipient before, and that can also BP things away. But it has to survive Salamence first, which the Celebi is faster, as we see, based on the sand. So maybe he goes to Zapdos here. Relatively safe from Salamence. Yeah, there it is. But Mess all over it. He has been on the money with his predictions this game. Rock Slide, exactly the move there. Wouldn't have been helpful had he BP'd that to Rachi or Swampert or whatever, but he knew that the Zapdos was coming, and he snipes it out with a correct prediction and a timely critical hit, and he says the same thing that I was thinking. Not sure if it mattered or not. Depends on EVs. It might have. Either way, lame sauce. And here comes Taunt, and Toxic Taunt is a good combo normally, not so exciting against Monopert. Here's Toxic anyway, and there's a big 51% Surf. We do see that T-Tar's faster, so he can taunt him here if he wants to prevent Refresh, but he might be immediately met with a lethal Surf if he does so. That crit, which the players have determined, if they're telling the truth about EVs, did matter. So, that has led to the first and only knockout so far. 6-5 advantage in Game 1 for Watermess. Celebi comes in, very safe against Monopert. Cares about neither water attacks, which Surf in this case, of course, or Toxic. But Celebi, I don't think, has recovered those, so he's going to have limited opportunities to do his thing. He's going to CM here, and then obviously would die a bazillion times over to a stab HP bug. Or even a Rock Slide, really. So Celebi going to have to get out of the way. It's obviously miles and miles faster than Armaldo. And he's going to decide to stay in Giga Drain, thinking maybe Armaldo will overpredict and click knockoff or something. But again, Watermess is correct with his prediction. Gonna get ahead of Baddummy again there. And HP Bug would have probably killed him from full health. But it's certainly going to kill him from 40%. And the lead gets bigger for Watermess. Last poke revealed for Baddummy in the back. Charizard. Char-Lizard. Coming at ya. Substitute. This is my favorite set. Not a beat-up Zard guy myself. I do like Sub-Punch. Tightening his focus. Ba-bam! Right in the kissa. 52%. Now the mind games begin. Do you attack, thinking that Blissey's going to try to disrupt Focus Punch? Do you sub again, thinking there's going to be a soft-boiled? Mess has been on top of it in every single mind game situation. Attacks, gets the kill. T-Tar does not get to do anything. The Mess lead getting bigger and bigger, and the opportunities for Baddummy fewer and fewer. He's fishing for a freeze, and he knows that he needs one at this point. Second 20% freeze comes up short. Will he go for a third attempt at fishing for a 20% freeze? He kind of probably has to at this point. The options are very limited. No lefties. Swampert not going to win this game. You could go to Charizard here, but it would be knocked into the Stone Age by a stab 4x weak Rock Slide. He's going to risk it, and Watermess does not pull the trigger on Rock Slide there, so finally Watermess gets one wrong, but he has been on the money in this game, and Rick he needs luck to have any chance in this game. Hidden Power crit there would have been a good starting point, but doesn't find that either. This might be a 6-0 for Mess. Rick is getting demolished, picked apart in this game. And he's not Ice Beaming there because he doesn't know the type chart and he thinks that Starmie's weak to ice. He's Ice Beaming because he thinks he needs a freeze. And it's awkward actually there that Salamence switches in. I guess he thinks it's not that useful against two things that both have ice attacks, but like the Ice Beam's so obvious there. He's not clicking anything but Ice Beam because he knows that he needs nonsense to get out of this. Maybe Rachi, but he's so far behind. How do you get out of it here? And the T-Wave is going to make it really, really difficult. T-Bolt there also gets a para, and the sand is enough to cook the Starmie, but it's just too little too late. There's Earthquake, and unless he insta-freezes him here, which he does not, he doesn't even get to attack, we're done. There's the GG from both players. Game 1 in the books. Watermess yet to drop a game in this tournament and really looking on point with his predictions and mixing up his teams really well is Watermess, who has been under the radar lately. One of the guys to beat in this tournament. You know, in the first 2 rounds, he is certainly looking like it. And if he were to win here and get himself the bye and punch a ticket to round 4 in the winner's bracket, he's really threatening making a run. He's doing all the right things up to this point. Like I said, mixing up his teams really well, being very polarizing with what he's bringing, not afraid to go very offensive, not afraid to go very stally, not afraid to bring things that are not OU, such as Armaldo. I really like everything he's doing. I really do. Watermess is looking real impressive right now, and like he's very much motivated and on form. And here's game 2. The players remaining in the positions that they were in, the 2 most common leads in the tier. Here they are. Titar on the bottom for Baddummy, and Zapdos for Watermess upstairs. And they're both thinking over turn 1 immediately. It is a tricky matchup. There is stuff to think about. Usually, from the Titar seat, you just get greedy, you just Rock Slide, you just Ice Beam. But it's not always that straightforward. Zapdos can have things like Baton Pass to a fighter or a Rock Resist. It could just Thunderbolt you and indicate that there's a Dugtrio in the back. It could click T-Wave, which is maybe really bad for you, especially if you then full Para and or miss the Rock Slide. They're both going to stay in, kinda. By stay in, I mean Baton Pass out. And he's going to crunch him on turn 1. That really wouldn't have been the most exciting thing in the world had it just been a T-Bolt crunch exchange, but Special Tar is what it is. Hidden Power there for 74% is a huge chunk. And in comes Cloyster. Seen him a couple times this round. Making a resurgence as like vaguely less shitty than it's been for half a decade, because it's pretty shitty. But he does get a spike down, and Watermess brings out Starmie for the 2nd game in a row, so that's going to make it hard to keep the spike down. And indeed, spike undone. Rapid Spin not blocked by a Ghost. Simply meets a Nurse on the other side. Meta and Cloyster. Cloyster would not want to take a Meteor Mash or a Psychic here. Not sure that he wants to stay in to reestablish a spike. Oh hey, who called it? It's Psychic. And it's a Specs drop on Pert. Baddummy opting for the 2nd game in a row to bring trusty Jirachi here. Trying to block Leech Seed. Does not manage to do that, but we could get into a Calm Mind war, and the Jirachi is both faster and behind a sub. So this could get out of hand. Mess needs his Celebi to have HP Fire, which we see that it does, or this really could start going badly. But Ice Punch is going to land an immediate freeze. The 20% freeze that did not cooperate last game is going to instantly deliver here. Here's Meta, as he, of course, reestablishes his substitute. And Rachi is going to be faster here as well. Interesting that it's Calm Mind, though, rather than just attacking, but looks like that was the right play in hindsight, because it was just going to be boom anyway. That being said, unless this is the world's weakest Dugtrio and the world's bulkiest Jirachi, it's going to always get him here from 81%. And indeed, Jirachi does not survive. So crisis averted, well handled by Watermess. That Jirachi did look threatening to his team, but Mess knew what he needed to do to deal with it. And we've got ourselves a 5-5, and I think Watermess is winning this game as well, given the low health and basically matchup irrelevance of the Cloyster. Now, granted, we know now that there actually is a Ghost for Baddummy, so there is a world where the Gengar does block Rapid Spin and keep a spike down, but it's not so easy to do. The Gengar doesn't want to get T-Wave, Psychic, Surfed, what have you, on the way in, and Baddummy did miss an opportunity there. He Ice Punch, probably thinking that the Celebi was going to come in, but instead he's going to Ice Punch. Well, that matters. Instead he's going to Ice Punch and hit the Starmie, I was going to say, but that critical hit, absolutely relevant there, and the Celebi is going to get sniped at +1 with the Ice Beam, and I thought Mess was winning the game up to this point, but now it is a lot less clear, especially with back-to-back critical hits there, because again, Dugtrio probably would have survived that. Might have been EV to always survive that if not for the critical hit. Back-to-back crits for Rick. He better win this game. He's going to be so mentally, morally defeated if he manages to get 2 back-to-back crits that both super duper matter and then just doesn't win anyway. You better win when you get that kind of luck. When you're running this good, man, you got to take advantage of it. Well, I thought Mess was going to win this game. I thought he was ahead, but RNG factors in this game, freezes, flinches, crits, what have you, can change things real quick. And back-to-back relevant critical hits, obviously going to be an issue. And while they complement each other's booties, we got some gay men in this chat. Live and let live, brothers. Whatever you want to do. Here is the Protect. And Hidden Power Grass coming down. Presumably. I mean, special tire. Oh, he showed HP Grass earlier. Anyhow, there's the Surf Knockout. So, 4-3 now. Everybody knows everybody. All the cards are on the table. We all know what we're up against here. Cloister tanks the Surf. I might just click Boom now if I'm Baddummy. I think so. I mean, it might get protected against, but certainly you Boom now after sniffing out the Protect, right? I would. And if he 50-50 protects and wins, shit happens. I'd be booming here 100% of the time. And we'll see if Rick agrees. And he does, in fact, go for the 50-50 protect. Does not win that coin toss. RNG stuff not going Mess's way in this game. The crits sucked. The 50-50 there sucked. Not a lot going for him. And it's looking like Rick is going to send us to a third game. Very likely. The lead Zapdos reappears. Zapdos is going to have T-Bolt, of course. Gengar, we know, has Ice Punch, so they can threaten each other here. But Blissey can come in pretty safely to the Zapdos. Instead, it is Swampert coming into Thunderbolt and gaining Lefty's back. And Swampert is no more. Yeah, Rick was that uncomfortable. He didn't want to even remotely chance that Blissey could get crit or para full parried or whatever. Was willing to give up the entire Swampert just to make sure Blissey could come in safely and get that soft boiled off that she needs. And that's probably the right play, because I don't know how the Zapdos nor the Starmie ever breaks through the Blissey. Now, granted, if this devolves into a PP stall situation, it could actually get awkward. Mess actually has more than 0 chance to win in that spot, but wouldn't you know it? Ice Beam with the freeze. Blissey has had a magical Ice Beam in this particular game. She had 2 crits and then an insta-freeze. Blissey's Ice Beam on point. This Blissey holding Scope Lens, possessing both Natural Cure and Serene Grace, delivering exactly what it needs to when it needs to. Not a whole lot of anything went Mess's way this game. I liked the team. I liked the prep. He didn't do anything wrong. This team is very different from his first team, so again, he's been switching it up very well. Just couldn't catch a break. It was just one of those games, and Mess not even really losing by all that much, but nevertheless does lose, and we are going to a Game 3 for the Battle of British Supremacy. Baddummy Watermess, who is the superior Brit, who is the only Brit in the 2-0 bracket. It'll only be one of these guys. No other Brit can do it. We're going to find out momentarily as the animations here catch up to real time, since you did see the GG on the screen a minute or 2 ago. We knew that it was over, just had to let it catch up since I'm not clicking skip ahead in this live narration. And there you go, turn 37, the official end time of this one. And we wait for Game 3, see what adjustments they want to make. I mean, I don't think Mess should make any adjustments. I think he should stick to his prep. I think he should feel good about the way this has been going. He's looked like the better player thus far, and under many circumstances would have simply won this series 2-0. So I wouldn't make many adjustments at all. For Baddummy, I don't know. I would probably make some kind of adjustment, but let's see. Here we are in Game 3. They're in the same positions they've been in. Baddummy on the bottom for the third and final time. Watermess on the top for the third and final time. Meteor Mash comes down. Rock Slide it comes down, but gets avoided. And then Magneton is going to trap Skarmory here. He does manage to get 2 layers down, which could matter if Watermess is not... if Baddummy is not rocking a spinner. But he's rocking a spinner. It could be non-spin Claydol, of course, but I would disqualify him. So, he goes straight for spin, and there's no ghost. Spikes are no more. So, 2 trappers killed each other, and neither one has anything to show for it. Spikes are not there. So, we've got ourselves an early 5-5. And this could be good for Baddummy, because Subcoon typically gets destroyed by Roarcoon, which happens to be the set that Rick has brought. He roars it out immediately, and he finds the Dugtrio. He begins Calm Minding up, and I doubt, even with the Calm Mind boost, that he wants to push his luck and stay against Zapdos here. I certainly would be switching if I'm Baddummy and I have anything remotely decent. But he sees it differently. He's going to stay in and go blow for blow. Risky business here. Now, it is a sandless game, so that makes damage rolls awkward, but Baddummy certainly, if he wasn't going to switch the turn before, should not be switching now. And out of the way he goes to Claydol, which immediately doubles back to meta. So we've got dolls on both sides. Seemingly not Magdoll for Watermess, though I guess it still could be. All in Suicune double trapper, maybe, I guess. I mean, Suicune does appreciate Magneton. You know, it actually could be Last Folk. The more... Well, now we know it's not, but the more I looked at Watermess's team, the more I convinced myself that it actually could be Magneton, but we know that it's not. We know that it's Blissey. And the last poke unrevealed for Baddummy as well. So, they stare each other down briefly. It's been a pretty quick set. It's been a lot of click, not a lot of tank. S-Toss, flipping that meta all the way around and upside down. You ever see Seismic Toss in the Pokemon anime? When Ash's Charizard uses it in, like, the Pokemon League battles, he, like, legit, he carries the thing way, way, way the fuck in the sky, like, up to, like, the moon or whatever, and then just, like, comes all the way down with it and plunks it down. S-Toss, if it worked like that, would be the strongest move in the game. If you, like, brought something to the top of the Empire State Building and then just dropped it, it would be super, super duper dead. That's like, it should just be a one-hit KO move. What could survive that? Anyhow, the briefest of pauses there, and well, like I said, in what has been a pretty quick series, not a lot of tanking from either guy, and we are back to the race here. Zapdos and Suicune, like I said, in a sandless game, seemingly. So bulky things are bulky, and HP, it doesn't really matter. Ice or Grass, either one does the trick there. Gets a critical hit against Claydol for 88%. Claydol is not that exciting anymore in the matchup. It already did its job, but that doesn't mean that you should just give it up for free. Now, granted, what very well might matter here is if Claydol is your only / best Zapdos answer, that crit could really matter. That could have opened up a big hole defensively in Baddummy's team, and the Zapdos going forward may be very difficult for Baddummy to switch into. Here comes Mence. Rock Slide missed on Doll, but it really wouldn't have done much. And I'd be real careful here if I'm Salamence. Subcoon often carries Ice Beam, but he goes for Surf there. Not sure if that was anticipating a switch or if that was trying to lull him into, oh, I don't have Ice Beam, you should stay in and Dragon Dance. Gonna sub it up. And Wish is interesting. You're not going to be able to pass to Claydol, but he does pass to Suicune, who goes all the way up to 100 with the Wish, and of course can roar away his counterpart behind that sub. And instead, he's going to CM up as Zapdos comes in. So, same matchup we saw earlier. The dynamic vaguely different in that Zapdos is not at 100%, but he does find a 10% Thunderbolt added effect para, which if it's non-Rescoon matters, but like Roarcoon is almost always Rescoon, so I think he can make that go away. Alternatively, last poke, which is also Blissey for Baddummy. I mean, I guess it can't have aromatherapy, right? Because it showed Wish, which for those of you who are unaware, those moves are illegal together. It cannot have both Heal Bell or aromatherapy and Wish, one or the other. So Suicune, if it has rest, which I assume that it does, is going to have to remove that para the old-fashioned way. Take a nap, rest it off, feel better in the morning. Go home, you're drunk. We've got a floating Wish. Who's he going to pass it to? Who's he going to call? Ghostbusters. He keeps it for himself and goes for the S-Toss. This could be a grind. Now that we know for sure that there is not going to be sand and there's not going to be spikes, and we've got Blitzcoon on both sides, I don't know that we're going 200 plus turn territory as we did earlier this round, but this one could be a bit of a grind. Blissey coming in, and Baddummy all over it. Sees it as an opportunity to rest, and indeed, that's what he'll do. Kills one of those sleep turns, and presumably, Blissey gonna come in. It's tricky for Baddummy. He's got to be aware of the Dugtrio at all times with the Bliss. Now, I doubt that it's beat up Doug on this particular team with the Blissey. It could be, but it might not be. But beat up here would be not so exciting since the Scarm is dead and the Blissey doesn't add a lot to beat up in the first place. So whether or not Dugtrio can reliably kill a 100% Bliss, that's a little shakier than it was yesterday. That is not so clear to me now. Thunderbolt there does land a para on meta, which is another 10% added effect, which is lucky and relevant for Watermess. This actually may prompt an earlier than usual boom. I would not be surprised to see Baddummy stay in and click Explosion here. And if you look at the other side, there's nothing that can punish it. He doesn't go for it. But yeah, I mean, there's no like super bulky Metagross or Jirachi. There's no Ghost. Like, if you boom as Metagross for Baddummy, you're gonna hit something. But then again, it showed Rock Slide, so there is a world hypothetically where this is actually an Agilagross, and the last two moves are Agility Earthquake, and it doesn't actually even have Boom. But it could also just be 4 attacks. I don't know. But if it has Boom, and if it manages to ever get it off, it's going to do some damage. Watermess doesn't really have counterplay to that. He just has to let something get blown up on. But back to the matter at hand, we have a hidden power there for 50%. Only the Salamence gaining leftovers. So CB Mence is interesting in the back. CB Mence on Mag Bliss teams, very common, but I'm surprised that he didn't lead with the CB Mence. For whatever reason, he thought the meta would be better. I guess that particular set of meta, right? Meta in general is going to beat T-Tire from the lead slot. It usually struggles against Zapdos, but in this particular case, with it being Rock Slide meta, which obviously threatens Zapdos, and with the ability, if you eat a Thunderbolt, to just recover that health via Wish later, then it makes sense to me. Speaking of wishing on the Metagross, there you go. Back up to 100. And sub-rest going on for Watermass. That's a set. So Combine Surf sub-rest. Kind of funky. I like the set, like the idea. Again, I applaud Mess's continued creativity and switching up of the sets and styles of teams that he's been using. That being said, I don't know if that's a set that he wants to have in this particular game. It is not great against the Roarcoon nor the CB Mence on the other side, so one of those sets going to be really good sometimes, really not so good other times, unfortunately for Mess, or fortunately for Baddummy, whoever you're rooting for. This is one of those games where that set is not going to be all that good. Meteor Mash did get a raise and has connected twice in a row through imperfect accuracy and the paralysis possibility. Still not that great, though, even with the raise. Just 25% against the Suicune here. Certainly you don't want to boom into this because it could just substitute on you. This is like the worst thing to boom on. Earthquake makes it interesting. 30% there, not bad. Suicune due to wake up on this next turn, though, so we'll see what he wants to do. Wakey wakey. Surf. And we don't know. Probably just another earthquake, but full power kicks in. Surf again. Just another earthquake. Puts Kuhn in range to die to the next one. If you want to boom on it, you could do it here. He's got to take the opportunity to get the CB Ments in. And man, Watermess playing around the boom there. What a guy. What a guy. He subs there just in case Rick had gone for boom. Man, he's on it. Mess has been on point. He's been playing very well this tour. Really impressed with him. Zapdos and Ments staring each other down. CB Ments is a tricky poke, actually, for Mess to switch into. I could definitely see if Rick is smart about it and gets it in when he's supposed to, doesn't get it unnecessarily chipped, perhaps passes Wish to it when he can. I could see the Ments really being an issue long-term for Mess. That could be the key to victory here for Rick. The Suicune's pretty good too. I think Rick has a good shot in this matchup. As much as I've been praising Mess throughout this particular set, I feel like I've been praising Mess more than I've been praising Rick, but I think that Rick is the more likely victor in this game. Far from over right now, and certainly if Dugtrio catches and kills the Bliss or things like that, I mean, there's things that can happen here. This is far from over, but I believe that I like Baddummy's position better. This reminds me, I mean, this is my fundamental objection. This is my fundamental problem with the kind of team that both of them really, but even more so that Watermess is running. My fundamental issue, my fundamental objection here, and this reminds me a ton of the Johnny and Arctic series where the exact same thing happened, is you just get certain matchups where, because you're anticipating as these like stally safe, defensively padded teams, you're anticipating that they play some kind of offense, you have the defensive tools to combat it, and you have like a dynamic back and forth, and you have a clear, you're the offense, I'm the defense, let's see who wins. The problem is when they both bring teams like this, or when you bring something like what Watermess brought, and the other guy just brings full stall, it can be really, really hard to kill stuff. It can be really hard to actually win games. I mean, really, looking at Watermess's team, he has like 1.5 win conditions. The first win condition, the real win condition, is the Suicune, which is what his team is built around, which is fine. Suicune is a real win condition. It's just not good in this particular matchup. And then the half win condition is just grinding somebody out with spikes, which, again, is fine. Spikes are obviously beyond viable. But just in this particular matchup, they're not so good again. He just happens to be against Magdoll. So, yeah, I mean, I struggle with what to criticize and what to, give the guy a break on. It's both. Like, it's a risk inherent with running the kind of team that Watermess is running. You're going to have matchups like this that are really hard to win. But at the same time, part of it is just luck. Part of it is just variance. Part of it is that Baddummy happens to have exactly what he needs to have here to really, really counter what Watermess brought. The Roarcoon plus Bliss, exactly what he needs defensively against the other Coon. The Magdoll, exactly what he needs to counter the Skarm. It's both. It's variance in matchups, and it's also the risk inherent with the teams that you're choosing to bring. Certainly, again, if you swap the games, if you put this team from Watermess against the Game 1 team, for example, from Baddummy, then maybe it plays out very differently. Maybe this team from Mess looks a lot better than it looks in this game. I think he's walked into a very, very hard matchup, and I'm still not ready to call it over. I mean, Dugtrio can just get there. It can just kill the Bliss. It can come in when the Suicune sleeps, and then just get a crit on it and kill that, and now all of a sudden things are very different. If the Dugtrio or the Zapdos were to take out the Suicune, and obviously Baddummy should do everything in his power to make that never ever something that can happen, but if Rick were to lose the Suicune, whether it's to Zapdos or Doug or whatever, all of a sudden the Suicune on the other side becomes a real issue. Rick is very much relying on his Suicune to counter the other Suicune. Blissey can wall it for a while, but it can never beat it, and if it comes to it, it can easily be PP stalled out. So, hell, it's even a weird quirk of that dynamic. Sometimes when you're PP stalling and the opposing poke has rest, you never damage it. You sit there and click Calm Mind. You sit there and click T-Wave, whatever, because you don't want to let it rest and burn turns. But in Watermess's case, he can self-activate the rest. He can sack HP whether his opponent likes it or not via substitute, and then he can get the rest off, regardless of what his opponent does. So, long story short, point I was making there is that Baddummy absolutely needs his Suicune to check the opposing Suicune. If something happens to Rick's Suicune, then Watermess's becomes very dangerous instantly and becomes a very legitimate win condition. In the meantime, like I said, the CB Mence, as long as he gets it in safely, is just always going to be an issue for Watermess. There just is nothing that overly wants to switch in, especially over a long period of time. Hidden Power Flying, largely free. Zapdos does resist it, but it still gets chunked for like a third every time. And then even if you like HP Flying 2-3 times in a row, the one time that you change it up and you click Rock Slide, if Zapdos happens to come in and you kill it, then Mess is really, really in trouble, because then HP Flying is really free going forward, and there's just no counterplay. Mess has like the tiniest bit of counterplay with the Zapdos right now, and no Sand is helping a lot too, so we can lefty it up over time and maybe get a couple more checks out of it, but by and large, the CB Mence is an issue for Watermess. He has managed to nurse his Zapdos with lefties back up to almost full health. And like I said, this game looking like it's going to go long. I don't know that it's going to go 200 plus long the way that other game went. But it could be a grind here for sure. And Hidden Power there with a crit would have really, really, basically ended the game. I don't know that Mess could have won with a crit there, but doesn't come, and he's going to connect with the Zapdos for 32. Zapdos going to gain lefties, going to force him out, gain more lefties. Zapdos doing everything he can to stay healthy, because he's really important in checking the HP Flying here. But that was an awkward roar, because now Salamence that we know to be faster can just click Rock Slide here, which is exactly what he does. And obviously, if Zapdos had stayed in, Zapdos would be no more. So Mess switches as he needs to. We end up Kun on Kun. They're both sleeping. And Zapdos reappears. CM, sure, but no, he's going to go blow for blow with the Zapdos. And he gets roared away, but he gets the worst roar again. It's the Salamence again. I think Mence can just click HP Flying here, actually. And, he's going to have to calc it. He would feel like an idiot if he leaves the Zapdos at 1 and then he gets like T-Waved or HP Iced or whatever, but I think a lot of the time you could just click HP Flying here. And I don't know that Mess really has a great response to that, other than praying that the damage roll cooperates, if the Zapdos even can live HP Flying from this HP. If it's even like 75-25 favoring the Mence, I still wouldn't do it, I think, if I'm Baddummy, because you don't want to risk your Mence, but you obviously should calc this, and if the numbers come back favorable to the Mence here, favorable enough anyway, HP Flying puts Mess in a real pickle. And he says honestly here that was the only thing he didn't want to see. That's not a bluff. That's not a mind game. The Mence was the worst roar, like I said. And it has been a fast series. It has been a clicker fest, but we finally have a significant pause here, as Mess taking a minute and counting to figure out what to do. And he's going to stay in. And Rick does indeed click HP flying. And there's the kill. And Mess says okay, which I'm not sure what okay is to mean here. I don't know if that's okay GG or okay bad damage roll. So in my favor, he says. Huh. Hey, he must have, I mean, he calced it, obviously. I don't know. I mean, we've seen the HP flying throughout the game get him for, 32, 33, 34. I'm not sure what level of in his favor it could have been, but Mess is obviously frustrated. He's one of those guys, he starts talking when he's not happy. He can be a little ragey, he can be a little whiny. That's been one of my biggest criticisms here of Watermess, and he's doing the thing right now that I don't like. I've been so complimentary to him, but like, you're allowed to be frustrated, you're allowed to feel all this, but like, why are you saying it to Rick? Rick didn't do anything wrong. Rick is polite. Rick is just playing. He didn't do anything. But yeah, no, he's complaining to his opponent about the matchup. Do you think Rick wants to hear that? What is Rick supposed to say back? Oh, man, sorry I brought something that was good into you. Sorry that my prep is working against you. Sorry that the damage roll went my way. I totally would have preferred it to not get the damage roll and to lose this game rather than win this game. My bad, bro. There's just no point at venting at your opponent. Vent to your friends privately after. What do you want Rick to say? Hey. We ain't done. Freeze there. If it never thaws. Changes things a bit here. There's Bliss coming in. There is vague hope now for Watermess. He's definitely still behind, and the Mence is definitely still an issue, but if he gets stubborn about trying to thaw this Suicune and it never thaws, it could get interesting here. There is the thaw, which he very much needed. Mess had a glimmer of hope there. He's going to try to refreeze it, which he pretty much needs to at this point. Obviously, the damage here is irrelevant. All he's doing is clicking 10% freeze chances. And pressure is relevant here as well. He's only going to have 8 total chances, which he's quickly running out of. And that might be it. I didn't count the ice beams, but if he's out, then I don't know how he wins anymore. Maximum boosts. Suicune. He does have an ice beam left in the tank, but he doesn't find the freeze. Suicune again with Surf, and he is seemingly out, and I believe that'll seal the deal. And if, in fact, Baddummy wins this game, which it is certainly looking like he's about to, then this will be a CALLOUS Invitational first. This will be a record breaker. This will be the first and only time that both play-in players get off to a 2-0 start. Has never happened before and seems to be moments away from happening here. The first time ever. The best that the play-in players have ever done. Both 2-0 if Rick wins this game. Watermess not ready to concede. Certainly going to play for the choke or the crit or the PP stall or whatever the hell he can get here. The odds are slim, but we are not done yet. Baby, you ain't seen nothing yet. I don't know if you youngins have heard that song, but it's a classic. Yeah, PP is relevant here. Either one of them could get PP stalled out of Surfs. There's no sand, there's pressure. Gonna go to Mence. I think what's supposed to happen here is that Watermess very slowly and eventually gets stalled out. The Blissey and the Coon should be able to wall it, and there's also the fact that Salamence can just kill it if he comes in on a rest turn and he manages to land a crit. Alright, back to sleep we go. So, gonna have opportunities to crit here. If he finds one, that'll be good enough and we'll be done. Critical hit ends the game in the match. Can it happen? Not this time. Wakey wakey, obligated to rest again. PP a factor all across the board. Surf PP matters, rest PP matters, earthquake PP matters. It's all relevant. One more time, crit ends the match. Crickets chirp. Is he out of earthquakes? Might be out of earthquakes. And there's the sub. And a CM. And an S-toss. Not going to break. 404 HP Coon, 101 HP sub. And Ice Beam, because he literally needs to do 1 point of damage, which he can manage. S-toss again. And Calm Mind. Man. Mess putting up a fight. Mess putting up a fight. And that wish is going to not get passed anywhere. Well, I guess I can do my narrator due diligence and actually check stuff. It looked like Rick had this, but rumors of Watermess's death may have been greatly exaggerated. Another quote that you youngins might not be familiar with. Let's check on some PP. It's tough because these don't factor in pressure, but if it's 8 earthquakes all against the Suicune without pressure, that means he's actually out of earthquakes, and then likewise a lot of those hidden powers were against Zapdos, so he probably actually has less than this as well. Might have like, I don't know, 8, 10, depending on where those HP flyings all landed. Those Surfs, at least a couple of them were against the Suicune. And then Surfs over here, it's showing 18. I don't know if any of those were against the opposing Coon, but there couldn't have been many against the opposing Coon, if any. He's got to have at least like 15 of those still in the tank. This is kind of looking like Watermess might pull it out, which is another reason to not complain, because it's just a bad look when you bitch and then you win anyway. But, man, this is it's getting a little scary here. And Baddummy fishing for the game-winning crit. He's just like, all right, fuck it, attack me. I'll just crit you one of these times and I'll get you. But he doesn't find the crit. All of a sudden, this might just devolve into Coon-on-Coon PP stall. Remember that, do you guys remember the survey question about will a poke use struggle? Maybe, just maybe, that happens this game. Usually, the problem with that question, the trick of that question, a lot of the time when it gets to the situation when something would struggle, a lot of the time the person who's on struggle just forfeits, doesn't drag his opponent through the mud and make him go through the motions. But yeah, if they're bound and determined to play this out, maybe, just maybe, this devolves into Coon-on-Coon struggle. See if Rick wants to just CM here. He could rest, but I mean, he's got to give himself some kind of protection from his max boosted brother, sister, whatever it is, counterpart on the other end. And Blue's offering his unsolicited 2 cents here. It's Mess again, taking the time. Baddummy has not been a fan of his timer. He's kind of a clicker in general, but has not been a big proponent of his timer here in the third and final game. And there's a world here where this goes down to struggle. If it gets to that point, then Baddummy should win. But he has to not get crit by the opposing Coon in the meantime. And of course, since we've been talking about pressure throughout the game, I must remind you guys that there is a limited window. There are limited opportunities to find said surf crit. Because the absolute most surfs that he has right now is 16, which is really only 8. And that's if none of the previous surfs, which it'd be a hike to find that right now, but that's if none of the previous surfs went against the Suicune. And Watermess deep into the tank. Really trying to figure it out. He's doing PP math here. He's trying to go over every single scenario. Can I PP stall? What is the exact number of this that my opponent has? What is the exact number of that? He's trying to get complete information here. He's doing calcs. He's trying to figure out if he needs to actually win via damage. He's trying to figure out if this has to become a PP war. He's trying to figure out the exact number of PP that his opponent has and do math. Yeah, it's been fast. This is by far the biggest pause in this match. 2.5 minutes right now he's thinking it over. And counting. That's 3 minutes. Yeah, he's really thinking it through. 3 minutes and only has 1.5 minutes left. I appreciate him taking it seriously. I appreciate him taking the time. He's gonna go for Surf. And a crit, obviously, based on that damage roll, would be enough. Baddummy gonna CM up as well. This would be intense. This would be one of those late games. This would be one of those memorable matches, but these are the kind of BS, luck-reliant, 50-50-ish. I mean, it's not literally 50-50, but humor me. Just one of those RNG-heavy, do ya or don't ya situations that you need to just get there to win these tournaments. It's like in poker. You get those flips in a big poker tournament. You get ace-king against pocket tens with, 50 million in the damn pot, and you either get there or you don't, and you just have to win those damn coin flips to win the tournament. And it's that kind of situation here. I'm not saying it's 50-50, but it's the same kind of damn situation. If you're Baddummy, you have to avoid getting unlucky here. You just have to hold the fuck on and not get crit. And if you're Watermess, you just have to get there. You just have to find the damn crit. But we are devolving into a PP stall, it seems. And with this not being a replay, good old live narration, I am not able to put this on fastest. We are gonna sit through the PP stall here and see how she plays out. May or may not get down to struggle at some point. To the pleasure of those who answered on the survey, that struggle will be used at some point. Yeah, we're in full PP stall mode here. I mean, Rick also should have taken the time while Mess was using his timer. At this point, I mean, I get it if you can't keep track of every little thing when you're playing quickly and you've only thought for 10 seconds, but at this point, with the amount of pausing and the amount of time it's been taken, Rick should also have an exact count of what the PP is for Watermess. He should have an exact number. They should both know exactly where the other guy is. Well, I predicted earlier that even I mean I said it would go long, but I predicted that even though it would go long, it would not go 200 plus turns the way that a different game that I also had to narrate did earlier in the round. But we'll see. We'll see if there's struggle and concession, or if they play it out, it could go over 200 here. It's possible that one of them gets down to struggle and just packs it in, but if they play through it the whole way until something actually faints, until the whole team is KO'd the old-fashioned way, then we are indeed looking at a potential second 200-plus turn game of the round. At least they're not wasting time with the clicks here. And there's no point. It would just be rude and disrespectful. I mean, at this point, you're clicking buttons. It's pretty quick. They're probably pretty ahead of us in real time. I don't want to blow this here, but they're probably ahead of turn 180 at this point. Mess deserves the crit, according to Mess. Fishes for it, doesn't get it. Fishes for it again, doesn't get it. Fishes for it again and doesn't get it. He can't have too many left. This says 9. He probably only has 2 or 3 left. Still no dice. Seeing the GGs. And there you go. Struggle has been used. I don't know what Mess is talking about. This is not an endless battle. Doesn't Bliss still have PP? Yeah, this is not endless. They can go through the motions, but I don't believe this is actually endless. But here we are, friends. The joys of sandless gaming in ADV. With all these dumb talks of banning Sableye and all these dumb ways that people want to change ADV, I've got the fix for you guys. Why don't we just make Sand a permanent fixture and just change T-Tar's ability to fucking sturdy? Just make Sand always there, regardless of T-Tar. It prevents this situation from happening. But yeah, not an endless battle. A battle that ends, in fact, on the next turn with a seismic toss. And there is your official ending turn. Turn 196 does not, in fact, make it to 200, but damn close. And it is Baddummy taking this one down. Watermess, not thrilled, as to be expected. But this is a historic result. Both play-in players, Baddummy and Sadly CS, both 2-0, both with a bye heading into the next round. It is the best that play-in players combined have ever done, and they have a chance, potentially, to set the record, either of them as individuals, to be the best that a play-in player individually has ever done. So we just witnessed history, guys. The best that they've ever done together. The only time that both play-in players have ever been 2-0. Pretty sick. Congrats to Baddummy, and Watermess, like I said, who has looked good in this tournament, is gonna be down with the rest of the people that have lost in the lower bracket. Whew. Don't know how long that actually took. Don't have a timer for these things. Feel like it was about an hour. Longer video, grindy game 3. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Please consider donating to the tournament if you have the financial means to do so. Doesn't have to be a huge amount. $5, $10. It really does help. It really does add up. You can do that via PayPal donation link, which is in the Discord server. It is secure. It is fast. It is anonymous if you want it to be. It is credited if you want it to be. And it really does help, so please consider doing that if you've got the means. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you with lots more Callous Invitational 7 coming up.